Coming up today, we have the biggest week ever, and we are potentially, or we're honestly 96% getting a rate cut this week. We're going to talk about how close we are to a recession and show you guys some history about the recessions. We're going to talk about what happens when we do get a rate cut within 2% of all-time highs. We're also going to talk about why Tesla is breaking up and the potential of Tesla hitting 500 and some plays that we can make on it. And we have a lot more to cover. You guys don't want to miss out on anything. And we're going to get into some supports and resistance and some plays later on. So let's get started. So first off, I'm not a financial advisor. I'm not here to tell you guys what to buy, hold, or sell, but I do post my plays over on X. So if you guys want to get some plays early and some early news, follow me on X. First off, let's talk about Gemini, because this is a stock that everybody's talking about. With that being said, we did fall down a decent amount, but we're holding above that $30 level. Today, I want to see if we hold above that $30 level. And if we can potentially make some plays to the upside. We can potentially, next level to watch is going to be at 34.5, 35, and then that 36.5. If we keep on breaking up, we could potentially see 40 with this one. This hold a lot of people's watch. And honestly, if it starts breaking to the upside, we could potentially see some bigger moves with this one. So keep Gemini on your radar, GEMI. But we got some news on Apple overall, and Apple is moving pretty decent right now. And honestly, I have a play that I'm potentially still watching, and that is breaking to that 240 level. And the strike is going to be 240, and the call is going to be until October 3rd. With that being said, I'm going to try to sell it before the FOMC meeting, but I might wait and hold it until afterwards, because we're going to talk about why a rate cut can benefit stocks more than anything else and crypto in general. So keep that in mind. But some news on Apple not being able to sell the iPhone Air in China, but we kind of got that pre-market. So honestly, we had a little sell-off, but then it came back up. And then as you guys can see on Friday, we had a big buy going up to like 234, not breaking that 235, but we finally broke that 235. 235 was my first level to watch. And now we have some room to move past that 237. 238.5 and then 240 next, and then past that 240 we do got some highs of 241.5. If we could break past that, we could potentially see 245. So let's see if we can break these levels, and if we can, you can make a decent amount of money on Apple. But why they can't sell the iPhone Air, with the iPhone Air not having a SIM card tray, because they kind of wanted to make it more slim, pack everything into a slimmer phone, and making it eSIM only. There's only one company in China that allows this, the eSIM basically. I think Telecom is trying to get it as well, but this is something that could have brought the stock down. But honestly, man, it didn't really bring it down. But that was like the main bad news that we seen. And honestly, people just brushed it off because the iPhone 17 Pro and stuff like that looked pretty insane as well. So honestly, they can get some good sales overall. But the main event this week is indeed going to be the FOMC meeting. And Kalshi looks pretty good, and we have a 96% chance of a rate cut, of a 25 basis point cut. But everything this week is going to revolve around the interest rate decision. And honestly, man, literally, man, we have a 96.4% chance of a cut, and then some additional cuts later on, like an 81% chance in October, a 76% chance in December. So we have a potential of at least 3 rate cuts this year until the year ends. So keep that in mind overall. And a 50% chance at the beginning of the next year, 2026. Honestly, man, 2026 is coming sooner than we think. But the event is going to be 2 hours before market opens. And of course, we have Jerome coming out 2:30, so 30 minutes after the FOMC meeting. But the Fed minutes and stuff like that is going to be good to keep on watch, because normally we get things early, and that's when we could see the initial move. I do recommend waiting until the market settles, like 15 minutes maybe afterwards, after everything settles, and you could potentially get some more swing trades, especially if you get a rate cut. I'm going to be talking about some stocks a little bit later that you guys can invest in and why a rate cut is good. But on Monday, an hour before market opens, which is today, we have the Empire State Manufacturer Survey. It might move the market, but honestly, it might not. But with that being said, Tuesday, we have retail sales minus autos, import price index minus fuel, industrial production, capacity utilization, business inventories, home builder confidence index. We have a decent amount tomorrow, but honestly, bigger event is indeed going to be Wednesday. We have housing starts, building permits, an hour before market opens, and of course the FOMC meeting that everybody's going to be anticipating this week. So we could potentially get some pre-moves before that. So Monday and Tuesday is going to be those pre-moves. So please have your patience. Thursday, we have initial jobless claims. We have a Fed manufacturer survey, U.S. leading economic indicators. And we do have a speech on Friday, but we have another bigger event on Friday. And what is that? That is going to be the triple witching. You guys may be wondering, what is a triple witching? So basically, another thing that's going on this week is we'll have a triple witching on Friday. And if you don't know what that is, basically, all at the same time, we see options and stock futures expiring on the same day. And it only happens every 3 months. We could see in the past, in September, it is pretty bearish. Just history, not saying it would happen. The stock market is normally bullish, 28% during this week overall, if we can look at the charts over here. So honestly, man, keep this in mind overall, because this can potentially bring the markets down, basically on Friday. So we'll have maybe the Fed rate cuts. We might have a little bit of bullish sentiment, and we might have a tiny little sell-off with this, but it is only bullish 28% of the time. So honestly, this time it might be bullish, especially if you get a rate cut, the most anticipating thing that we had for a while. But if we look at like the previous day change, it was like bullish, like 40%. So we might still be bullish on Thursday. And then Friday, we might see a little bit of selling going on. So if you guys see some selling going on Friday, if you guys don't know why, this is why. So I would recommend screenshotting this, but this is indeed going to be big. But going back to the Fed rate cuts, as you can see, when the Fed cuts rates, when the stock market is at all-time highs, the market normally loves it and pushes up higher. 20 out of the 20 last times it happened, the stock market went higher the next year. So if we look at the next year, we look pretty bullish overall. But in the short term, it kind of doesn't really look as good. But the next 3 months look a little bit better at 77%. Next 6 months, 72%. And then the next month is going to be that 50%. But with that being said, we might see some price targets increase with certain stocks and stuff like that. But and October is going to be big because in the short term, in the next month, it is only green 50% of the time. So honestly, we can watch October. I think last year in October, we seen a big sell-off. So honestly, keep that in mind. But it was literally just a big sell-off at the beginning of the month. And then honestly, just kind of went down. But yeah, just keep all this on your mind and on your radar overall, because this can potentially move the stock market in general. But we do see a 96.4% chance of a rate cut, like I said before, and a 3.6% chance of a double cut, which is basically like 50 basis points. But the main question is for the FOMC meeting is how much are we cutting and how often are we cutting? This can be bearish or bullish overall. So keep that in mind. We're basically 96% chance of getting a rate cut in general. And the main thing to watch is how many cuts we're going to get. Like I said, 81% chance, 76% chance of another cut coming out in the future. And then also just how much are we going to cut the first time? Are we going to cut 2 bases or twice? Are we going to cut once, which is going to be 0.25? So this is going to be very, very big to watch. So honestly, if we get like a bigger one, which is like 50 basis points, it's going to be a little bit more bullish overall for the stock market. And if they say that they're going to cut a little bit more, that's going to be bullish too. So keep that in mind for the overall stock market. But with that being said, man, last week we got a lot of data showing the job sector isn't really doing too good. And as you can see with the Conference Board consumer confidence in jobs, it's starting to break down. And in the past, we've seen breakdowns like this. So as you can see, we're breaking down a decent amount. And as we've seen the breakdowns in the past, we've seen recessions start happening within the breakdown. So we might potentially get a little recession. A rate cut can help prevent a recession. But the question you may be wondering, is it already too late for a rate cut right now? Are we cutting too late and we might get into a recession because we are cutting too late? But with a rate cut, it does prevent a recession. And honestly, man, maybe it's not too late, but it makes borrowing cost, allowing people to borrow for cheaper to buy things that they need, and also companies to borrow cheaper so that they can expand more and give out more jobs. So the job market can maybe look a little bit better with a rate cut, especially with companies going out more. This is why a rate cut is good for the stock market overall, because companies are expanding and it will be spending more on other companies. Some stocks that I'm watching is going to be Tesla. Of course, Tesla expanding, and with Tesla going more like bigger in the robotics and stuff like that, they can open up more jobs. And honestly, it's just going to look good for Tesla overall. Next one is going to be NVIDIA, because as companies are buying more, they're going to buy more NVIDIA chips, probably expand their data centers. And you can look at companies buying NVIDIA's chips like Microsoft, Meta, stuff like that, and some other ones, which I'll be mentioning later on in the video. But another thing to think about is the interest rates getting cut. It is cheaper to borrow, but it's also bad for savings accounts, because the interest rates on the savings accounts goes down, meaning that people will trust their money more into the stock market and crypto market. So we can see a big pump in the crypto market as well, and just in the stock market, because people might be taking money out of their savings accounts since they're not making that much money, and they're going to put it in the bigger things like the stocks because they want to make more on their return overall. So honestly, that is pretty decent to look at in the short term. And honestly, man, stocks are just going to be pumping a decent amount. So that is one thing that I'm very, very pumped about. But with that being said, man, the fear and greed index, man, we're at a 54. We are very, very close to getting into that greed section. Once we get into greed, the markets are going to look a little bit more bullish overall. And that's where the sentiment will come into play. And honestly, that will look pretty good. Let's take a little break and look at earnings for a second. We don't have anything major, but you guys can screenshot this list if you guys want. I think a big thing people are watching is going to be FedEx. FedEx is a good one for your long term. So this is one that I'm watching. Maybe I could add to my long term. We got Cracker Barrel. We had a lot of news like maybe like a month ago about their name getting changed. We got Dave and Buster's, but nothing really major. The earnings calendar ain't really that big. It's mainly the rate cut odds and stuff like that. But to look more on the sentiment for the market, let's look at the VIX and see where the volatility is going. We are spiking up a decent amount. With that being said, if we do spike up a little bit more, maybe get to 1570 to 16, we might see a bigger sell-off. But if we can break back down to like low, like 15 and below, we could potentially get the market pumping up some more. So this is one that I do like to watch to see, if the S&P 500 is selling off, and I look at the VIX and the VIX is spiking, that is a good bear signal overall. You can also look at bonds and stuff like that. But right now, the VIX isn't really looking too bad. So honestly, man, we might be able to get a little pump in the market. And we did get a little pump overall after basically pre-market. And honestly, we're looking pretty good. So next level for the SPY, I am going to be watching that 658.5 and then that 659. And then I think 660 is going to be a big level to see if we could break it. If we can't break it and or get a bounce off, you get a quick little put option, maybe 10-20% play. Like I said before, man, follow me on X and I'll be posting my plays on here pretty early. So NextGen wealth tips on X if you guys want. So you guys never miss out on a play. But Tesla, man, right now, Tesla is looking pretty good and they're pivoting into robotics. Their numbers are looking a little bit better, but robotics is going to be big. And Elon Musk did come out saying that it is going to be basically a big revenue income. So honestly, man, robotics is making Tesla look good, and that is pretty good. We're also getting some bearish sentiment on NVIDIA overall. China finds NVIDIA violated the antitrust law on chip deal probe. So keep that in mind overall. We might see a little bit of a sell-off in NVIDIA. This is one stock that I've been watching. I do want to see it to the upside again. We might break past all-time highs and then maybe have a bounce with these rate cuts. But we have US is close to resolving the TikTok issue with China. So keep this on your radar as well, because we could potentially see, if you see some big company like Microsoft or something like that buying TikTok, this can be big. But I mean, there's nothing confirmed on us buying TikTok anymore, but this can be big if a company basically, buys TikTok. And then next, last but not least, news thing that we have until we get to the plays and supports and resistance, we do have Trump, pushing to get Lisa Cook fired again. This is coming back. And then we also have Trump, going at Fed Jerome about rate cuts and saying that he's cutting too late. And honestly, man, this is just going to happen every time. And honestly, maybe once he cuts rates, he's probably going to just ask for more. So honestly, just keep that on your mind. But overall for the SPY, man, first level that I'm watching, I'm going to be watching if we can break past that 658.28. If we could break past that, we have room to move to that 659 level. If we could break past that 659, look at 659.5. Of course, that's 660. We could potentially, if we get the same moves that we got last week with that big push upwards, we could potentially just break right past 660, maybe get to 661 or something like that. And then honestly, a lot of people pumped up for the anticipation for the rate cuts. So keep SPY on your radar. And if we do start selling off, 656.8 and 655 or to 656 is going to be a level to the downside that I'm watching. If we break these levels, we could potentially get back down to like highs from like Thursday, which isn't even that big of a move to the downside. Like if you guys see SPY selling off a big amount, just look at the daily and see like the highs and lows of that day. And honestly, sometimes if we do have a big sell-off, it's going to look big, but it's just going to be highs from like Thursday. So I'm going to be watching the highs from Thursday, which is 654.5, And if we break below that, we could potentially, test some lows of like 651 to 650. So keep all of this on your radar overall. But honestly, we might have a little breakup for now and then see how we can react to that 660. That is what I'm watching. But the play that I mentioned earlier is going to be that 240 level. At first, I was watching it when we were down at 234, but we're like maybe like $2 more towards it. So it might not make as much money as we may think, but this could be a good play to have on your watch for that 240 level to break it by this week. But I'm getting it by the October 3rd, just because in history, if we pull up some charts, so I do have some older charts that I want to pull up. So this is the chart last year. And honestly, we had something similar, how we kind of looking, and then we had a bigger breakup overall the next 2 days. So honestly, these next 2 days can be big for Apple, because right now, this is how we looked yesterday and this is how we look now. We're kind of making the same move. It's not the same dates, but we're kind of making the same move that we made last September. And honestly, it kind of looks like similar right now. We kind of had, a little bit of a breakout this day, and then now we're having a breakout now. And as you can see with how charts are looking pre-market, we are kind of making that same move upwards. So we could potentially have room to move back up to that 240 and then 241.5. We could potentially maybe break up some more, but I'm looking to sell maybe at that 240 to 241. Back when I was looking at the contract yesterday, I was looking at the 233 level, but once it got to 240, you can 100 times or 100% this play. With that being said, it's probably not going to be the same. We might still get like 50% at least. So that is what I'm looking at. I'm not risking too much money on this play, but this is going to be one, and I do recommend looking at that 240 strike price. It might cost a little bit more. It might be like 300 to 350 now, but you can still make a decent amount of money off of this. So have that play on your radar. I'm going to be trying to scope out a little pullback, and or if we just start going green right away, I might just play the play right away. And if I make like 20-30% like in the same day, that might just be a day trade for me, honestly. If we continue to go up throughout the day, that is going to be big. But just watch for it to, rally up the whole day, and then maybe like a few hours in, might just consolidate for the rest. If we do consolidate, you could potentially just sell your play and or just hold it overnight, which isn't really that bad. But if you're already green for the day, you might as well sell it. But that's one play that I'm watching on Apple. Let's move over to Tesla, because Tesla, I have a potential play coming out for Tesla. We did have a big move upwards, and 400 was a big level that I was watching for this play. And honestly, if we can hold above 400, we could potentially get a break up to the 410 to 420. So 420, 417 is going to be on my radar for sell. But I am going to be watching that 410, see how it reacts. And the next is going to be 415. But I might just sell it early at 415 if we do break up, and or just sell it at 410. But the contract that I'm looking at, I'm not really sure yet about the contract that I'm looking at for this. I might just see how it opens up and see how it moves and see the initial hype on Tesla. And if we get a decent amount of hype, I might get in and then sell it, just day trade this one as well. But like I said, I'm not, I think I'm over promoting now, but just stay tuned for NextGen Wealth on X basically. And I'm going to be posting that play as well. And another play that I'm watching is going to be Lyft, because we are kind of making a breakout with Lyft. And I feel like that we can potentially have room to move to that $20 level in the short term, and maybe even break past that $20 level. So I am going to be watching Lyft to the upside for now. And honestly, I hope you guys have Lyft on your radar as well. But I'm going to be watching Lyft to break that $20 level. And if you want to hold it even longer, maybe like a month or something, get like a long-term call, maybe like a year out, but you hold it for like a month, you could potentially see $25 to $30 with Lyft. And this is one that I'm going to have on my radar, but this is one that I'm going to be taking my time and having my patience on overall. Another one that is breaking up and that can move with rate cuts is going to be Meta, and Meta is making a decent breakout as well. We could potentially even see Meta at 800 very, very soon. So Meta is going to be one on my watch. But right now, this is one that I'm going to have on my radar, and I'm probably going to trade it after the rate cuts. But this is one that I'm also having on my radar. And NVIDIA with that China Pro, basically, it's not really looking too good right now. So this could be a good buy level later on, because we always buy the dips. And honestly, right now, it was a make or break moment that I was watching for the open. And honestly, it was a make or break above that 178.5 and a break below that 176.5. So he did make a break downward. So he might have a continuation of a sell off, and this could potentially bring SPY down. But look at this sell off overall. I'm going to be looking at the sell off until 170. You could potentially get $2 in the money to your play. We could potentially even break lower than 170. So keep the video on your radar to the downside now, because previously I was kind of bullish on it, but we were kind of consolidating for a couple of days, as we can see. So honestly, now we made a breakdown, so we could potentially make a breakdown and sell off a little bit more. So please watch that 170. We have room to move to that 166 as well. So have the video on your radar to the downside now. We also have Google, you can make a longer term swing trade. And honestly, we are making a decent breakout, like a decent breakout right now. So my first level I was going to watch was indeed going to be that 242.5. But since we broke above that, my next level is going to be 245.5, 246.5. And then I'm watching it until we can see that 250 level. We can either play a put option, let it bounce off of it, and or if we bounce over it, we can make a decent amount of money off this. But Google is on watch for today as well. We could potentially get a few more dollars into the money, and or we just have what we had on this day and we just sold off. But with that being said, we are past the highs from a couple of days ago, and we're past this level that was kind of a make or break level. So if it could keep on continuing, Google can be a good continuation to the upside. And I'm looking at Boeing. Boeing has some bad news, but I'm going to be looking at Boeing to the downside. So Boeing can potentially move a decent amount. First level is going to be that 215.76, and next level is going to be that 214.5. If you can break below that, I'm going to be looking at 210 next. But Boeing, honestly, man, it's been selling off a decent amount. They had some bad news with their planes. I think it was like something like a safety feature or something like that. I have to do some more research for that. But honestly, man, those are basically the plays that are on watch for now. But if we dive a little bit deeper into crypto kind of like stalled a little bit. We did have Bitcoin hitting almost 117, but we sold off quickly after that. So if we continue this sell off, you guys can look at stocks like IBIT. IBIT is an ETF that moves with Bitcoin. You can also look at MSTR, Coinbase, Robinhood. Robinhood is like overall crypto, but that's not bad. Ethereum as well. We hit a decent level. I think 46.84, but I think we hit a bigger level earlier. I don't know why I'm in the 1 minute chart anyway, but we did hit 47.70. But I kind of want to break past that 5,000 level to be a little bit more bullish on Ethereum in general. But with rate cuts, like I said before, man, people are investing more money into crypto and stocks in general. So if we do get a rate cut confirmed, we can see stocks kind of bounce and crypto bounce and potentially new highs on crypto. So if you guys do see Ethereum start going up, you can get ETHA, which is another ETF, and that moves with Ethereum. And this one, you can make a decent amount of money. At 47, we can get $35. And at the highs of 49, we can get $37. So that is pretty decent. We could potentially probably see this at $40. And the deltas are relatively high for this one, so you can make a decent amount of money off of this as well. And then XRP, we broke below that $3 level. Honestly, man, you could potentially get a buy at like 2.8, hold it for a little bit and sell that like 3.1 to that 3.7 or 3.37 level. So keep XRP on your radar too if you guys are trading this too. But I just like to mention all other stocks. With that being said, though, good luck trading today. Don't forget to follow me on my X account if you guys want plays and news early. And with that being said, man, good luck trading. This is the Fed rate cut week, and it's going to be a big week in general. So honestly, man, keep news on your watch, keep everything on your watch, and good luck trading, guys. Smash the like button, subscribe, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Peace out.